Okay, so you've done the work. You've got that incident response plan. It's all indexed, looks great. You know who to call. Alerts are set up.
Hmm.
You think you're ready. Then bam, 7 a.m., phone buzzes, high severity security alert. And just like that, all the confidence you had maybe 6 months ago when you wrote that plan, gone. The steps that seem so clear on paper are suddenly completely overwhelming. You're scrambling, thinking, wait, which password do I reset first? Do I call someone? What was step one? It's just chaos.
Yeah, that exact moment, that internal freeze where you realize there's a huge gap between having the plan and actually being prepared to use it. That's what we're diving into today. We're focusing specifically on the IR-2 Substack, all about incident response training and preparedness. And it makes this really critical point. Reading about what to do in emergency is fundamentally different from, actually doing it. And discovering that difference when you're already in a crisis, when stress is high, that's absolutely not the time.
Right. So our mission here is to figure out why that document alone isn't enough and why just occasionally, walking through the basics is so vital. It's almost like knowing CPR where the fire exits are, isn't it? You hope you don't need it, but you need to know it instinctively.
Precisely. The core idea from the Substack is that readiness comes from, muscle memory, not just memorizing facts. If you can automate those first 1 or 2 critical actions, you immediately get back some control.
But why, though? I mean, let's say I have the plan printed out right next to my computer. Why can't I just calmly open it and read step 1 when the alert pops up?
It really comes down to physiology. The moment you sense a threat data loss, security breach, whatever, your body triggers a panic response. And that panic, it sort of hijacks your higher level thinking. What scientists call executive function, your ability to plan, prioritize, access complex information, it gets impaired. So if you haven't actually rehearsed the steps, your brain just defaults to, fumbling and guessing. It literally struggles to access and process that organized, written plan effectively under duress.
Okay, so the training we're talking about isn't like those mandatory mind-numbing corporate videos where someone just reads slides.
No, definitely not.
It's more about making sure the basic sequence is so ingrained, so automatic, that you can rely on it even when your brain is kind of screaming.
Exactly that. It frees up your mental bandwidth. Instead of scrambling to remember the process, you can actually focus your attention on containing the problem.
Okay, let's make this concrete. The Substack uses this great tale of 2 responses. Let's start with something probably everyone listening is worried about. The lock email account. You try to log into your main email, the one tied to everything, and you get that awful message. Account temporarily locked due to suspicious activity.
Yeah.
Scenario 1. Without training, what happens? The user panics.
Totally. First instinct. Click every single recover account linked, hammer the password reset, maybe try a couple old passwords.
You can't remember which obscure backup email you used, or you second-guess the answers to your security questions.
And the result, which the Substack highlights, is predictable. 3 failed attempts, maybe more, and boom, you're locked out for 24 hours. You've completely blocked your own recovery path and cut yourself off from everything linked to that email. You didn't solve the problem, you actually made it worse.
Okay, painful. Now, contrast that with the user with training. They've just thought this through beforehand, maybe walked through it mentally once or twice.
Right. They're still stressed, no doubt. But they're not just guessing or clicking randomly.
They remember the sequence they practiced or documented. Okay, step 1. Check the specific backup email address, the one they wrote down. Step 2. Grab the recovery codes from secure storage.
They bypass the panic buttons and go straight to the tools they prepared.
And the outcome. Access regained in maybe a few minutes. It sounds so simple, but I know I've written down codes before, and then, poof, couldn't find the paper. Does the Substack give tips on where to keep this stuff?
That's a really good point, and yes, the emphasis isn't just on having the codes, but having them in a predictable, secure place. They suggest things like a dedicated password manager vault, or maybe a specific encrypted file. The key is consistency. It's always in that one spot, used only for these security essentials.
So it prevents that frantic, where did I put that darn thing, feeling. It becomes, I know exactly where my recovery kit is.
Exactly. It shifts it from scattered notes to a centralized, reliable resource.
Okay, centralized and reliable. Let's scale this up now. Take that same principle, practice response versus panic, and apply it to a small business. The Substack uses the example of a small real estate agency. Imagine a really convincing phishing email comes in, looks like it's from their title company partner. An agent clicks, enters credentials, then realizes the mistake a minute later.
Okay, so the without training response kicks in. The agent, naturally, panics. Their immediate thought, change my password, fix it.
So they change the password, feel maybe a little bit better.
But they completely forget about a tiny critical detail buried in the email settings. The forwarding rules.
Oof. And that's the killer detail, right?
Absolutely, because the attacker might have already set up a rule to forward copies of all incoming emails to themselves. Changing the password doesn't stop that.
So the compromised account just keeps spewing malicious emails to clients for another hour, maybe longer, because that forwarding rule is still active.
Total chaos. The broker isn't sure what happened, who to notify first. Clients are getting weird emails. It becomes a full-blown reputation crisis, vast. The initial click wasn't the disaster, the untrained reaction was.
Okay, painful again. Now the with training scenario. The agent gets phished, realizes it. But this time it feels familiar. They did a quick what-if session on this last month.
Right, so no thinking required, almost. They just execute the practice steps.
Step 1. Disconnect the computer from the network immediately. Step 2. Notify the designated person, probably the broker. Step 3. Reset the credentials. And crucially, Step 4. Explicitly check for and remove any suspicious forwarding rules or auto-replies.
Then Step 5. Send out the pre-approved client notification if needed.
And the result. The incident is contained within minutes.
Right.
Minimal damage.
If you look at the bigger picture there, the training provided immediate process control. Everyone knew their role, knew the sequence. So instead of running around putting out fires caused by their own fumbling, they could focus on actually fixing the initial problem, the compromised account.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense. The lesson really is about building that muscle memory.
Yeah.
So for someone listening right now, what does the Substack suggest as practical, immediate actions? Stuff we can do without setting up some huge formal drill.
Yeah, it offers 2 really high-impact, low-effort things. Task 1 is for everyone, personally or professionally. Just pick one scenario relevant to you, maybe that locked email account, maybe a lost or stolen phone or laptop, and just mentally walk through it. Right now or in the next 10 minutes, don't even write anything down yet. Just force yourself to think. What is step 1? What's step 2? Step 3?
Just thinking it through, visualizing the sequence, helps make it stick a bit better.
Exactly. It starts building that pathway. Then, task 2 is more for small business owners or team leads. Schedule a really short, maybe 15-minute what-if session with your team. Make it monthly, maybe.
And you don't need fancy simulation.
Nope. Just talk through simple things. Okay, team, what if our main website goes down? Who does what first? Or what if our shared chat channel gets compromised? What's our immediate reaction?
So everyone understands their role in the basic handoffs before the pressure is actually on.
All right.
It really does all seem to come back to how our brains work under stress, doesn't it? Can you elaborate a bit on that cognitive science angle? Why does this rehearsal matter so much at like a neurological level?
It absolutely does. When that adrenaline surge hits, your brain effectively downregulates the prefrontal cortex. That's the part responsible for rational thought, planning, complex problem solving. You're basically forced to rely on more primitive, ingrained pathways, your habits, your practice responses, fight or flight stuff.
Oh, okay.
So if you haven't deliberately trained those what to do in case of X pathways through rehearsal, simple tasks suddenly become incredibly difficult. And crucial details like checking email forwarding rules just get completely missed because your higher reasoning is offline.
So training isn't about making you smarter in the moment.
Not really. It's about ensuring that the process for dealing with the crisis is so automatic, so ingrained, that you don't need your full executive function just to figure out what to do next. It lets your remaining cognitive resources focus on the actual problem, the threat itself, instead of being consumed by figuring out the steps.
That is such a critical distinction. So the big takeaway here, incident response training isn't about memorizing manuals cover to cover. It's about building that automatic, rote sequence of initial actions that preserves your ability to think clearly when everything feels like it's falling apart.
And understanding this principle from IR-2, the training aspect, is fundamental to the rest of the incident response toolkit the Substack outlines. This training, IR-2, is what enables you to actually execute the specific technical steps, which might be in IR-4, to recognize the subtle signs of trouble, IR-5, to build out more complex action plans, IR-8, and to handle things like notifications effectively, IR-6. Training underpins all of it.
Okay, so today we've really hammered home the importance of rehearsal, the mental walkthrough, the quick what-if chats. But the Substack points to a next logical step, doesn't it? IR-3, which is incident response testing.
Right. And this brings up a really interesting, maybe even provocative question for you to think about after this deep dive. You've rehearsed the plan mentally. You think you know the steps. But what happens when you actually try to execute step 2 in a real, albeit simulated test? What if taking that practice step unexpectedly breaks something else in your system? How do you actually verify that your plan not only looks good on paper and feels okay in your head, but actually works in reality without causing new problems?
Hmm. Moving from knowing the steps to proving the plan is sound.
Exactly. That verification, that testing piece, that's the crucial next level of preparedness to consider.